Today we're going to learn about a missionary named John Newton and why teachability was so important in his life. Being teachable means that you choose to listen to truth and change your behavior to do what is right. This is something that is so important in everyone's life. Unfortunately, many people have to learn this the hard way. This was the case for John Newton. John Newton was born in England way back in 1725. He was an only child and was the center of his mom's attention. His dad was an English sea captain and was gone for long periods of time, leaving John and his mother to themselves a lot. John's mother was a strong Christian and taught him the truth of God's word from the time he was very young. She had hopes that he would grow up to be a minister. Unfortunately, when John was only 7 years old, his mother became ill and died. This radically changed his life. He had to go live aboard ship with his dad. Sailing was a hard and dangerous life, and he now lived with rough, uneducated, and often mean men. He no longer had the strong Christian influence of his mother, and he quickly learned to fight, swear, and depend on himself. After many years aboard ship, John's dad wanted him to have a better way of life, so he tried to apprentice him to a businessman in Spain. John liked math and picked up on the business quickly, but he did not like to do things the way his boss wanted him to. He wanted to do things his own way. He was soon released from the apprenticeship because he was unteachable. Mr. Newton soon secured another job for John, but John refused his father's help and did not show up at the job. This happened multiple times until John was out of options. He was forced into service in the English Navy. It was a very tough job, and John tried many ways to get out of the Navy. Due to his defiant behavior, he was eventually traded to a merchant ship where he continued his awful behavior. He ended up being enslaved to a man from Africa named Claw and was forced into hard labor and given very little to eat. He finally wrote to his dad, begging him to help him get free. His dad was able to send a friend to free him and bring him home. You would think that John would have been grateful for this opportunity to be rescued, but he never thanked God or his father. He began to get into trouble again. On a voyage across the ocean, he and the other sailors ran into a storm. They fought intensely to keep the boat from sinking. In desperation, John turned to God and asked him for help. This was a pivotal moment for John Newton. The ship and the sailors survived the storm, but they were still in a dangerous situation. Their food and water had been lost at sea, and John Newton knew that he could not survive on his own any longer. He willingly made the choice to trust God. He used the remaining time on ship to encourage his fellow sailors and read his Bible. When the ship finally made landfall, people could see the difference in John. He was offered new opportunities to learn about how to become a captain of a ship because of his renewed life. He tried this, but realized that God had other plans for him. Because of his time in slave trade, John Newton knew how awful of a life that was for people. Through his Bible reading, he learned God's view on slavery and knew it was wrong. He spoke out about how God had changed him and was asked to share his story all over England. This led to John Newton becoming an ordained minister just as his mom had hoped. His testimony shows how much a person can change when they are teachable. He eventually went on to write the famous hymn called Amazing Grace. The words of the hymn summed up the life of John Newton well. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found, was blind, but now I see. God can use a teachable spirit to do big things in His kingdom. In conclusion, I want to leave you with something to think about. In what ways can you become more teachable? Thanks for joining us.